Hey guys, what's going on? It's Michael FormAWin here to help you guys get your first engineering job and grow in your career. Today we have a special guest, Gustav. Let's get into it. All right, brother. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, man. I'm really glad to be here. I've actually been following you at FormAWin for a while now, and I love what you're doing with it. It's super valuable, especially for young engineers just starting out. So yeah, thanks for being here.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. Super excited to rip into this. Everyone, if you're watching, make sure you have a pen, piece of paper, take some notes, take some actions out of this. I know everyone is looking to grow, develop, if they're struggling, if they are, or you're just looking to expand your knowledge. This is the time to do it. So make sure you take notes, take one thing out of this video and apply it. So, Gustav, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Absolutely. I'll start with the background. So I'm originally from Sweden, and I am now actually living in Cyprus. I grew up in the construction industry, actually, you could say. My father, he runs a real estate and construction company. So ever since I was young, I was helping out, and he taught me very early on to earn my own money and to take responsibility. So right after high school, I started working in the family business, and I worked as a laborer and then became a team leader. But after a few years, I wanted to prove myself on my own and to challenge myself. So that's when I actually started studying construction engineering. And that led me into an internship with one of Sweden's leading residential remodeling companies, where I went from site supervisor to project manager and eventually into sales. So this was my first step into the tech world, because I learned how to program VBA.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with VBA?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
complicated.
So I built a estimating tool in Excel for the company that we could use in the sales department. And so this is where my software journey began, you could say. And a few years later, I became partner in that company. But we had a big problem because we wanted to grow, but we didn't have the right tools to be able to do it. So I decided to study software engineering to be able to build the tools that we needed. And when I graduated, that's when I became CEO of a new company that we started to build this software for the company. But we didn't have much money, so I had to get a bit creative. So I brought in experts in different fields, but also partnered with a team in Macedonia. Um, so today I'm running my own software company, and we're still working with the Swedish construction company, but we're also building a solution that we will sell to other companies around Europe at first.
Awesome, man. That's quite the journey. Quite a lot of stuff that you had to go through to get from point A to point B here, man. I mean, you're still growing, so I love that. Like I definitely want to kind of cover this in a few areas. Let's just start first with early career. What was one of the biggest struggles kind of going from getting into the first engineering type of position or the first tech type of position? Like what was that? Like what was the biggest struggle from before that to get there?
One of the biggest struggles I had was that I lacked experience in the software industry. So when I went from the construction industry, I had experience there, but I didn't have the software experience that I wanted to have to be able to build the system that we needed. So a key thing for me there was that I had the fortune of finding a lot of mentors in different fields that would help me out. So I don't think without them it would have been possible to do what I did because I was lacking the experience.
100%. What was your way of finding those mentors?
Fortunately, I found most of them through friends of friends, and then we had a model where I was allowed to pick their brain by compensating them in different ways.
Okay.
Uh, so I was very lucky in that way.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely think it's super important to network and then invest in yourself, right? For everyone watching, a lot of students here in the US, I mean, sometimes they're a little bit shy of, just going out, doing the extra mile, like putting their foot forward, investing in themselves, growing, and like making these connections. Because I mean, just like you said, all of that stuff was super important to get to where you wanted to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
Why don't you tell
and
us a
it's
little bit?
challenging.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just like insane, just because you don't know what you don't know. So that's also part of it.
Mhm.
What are some struggles that you kind of took to starting the company, right? I mean, it was definitely funding, but why don't you walk us through a little bit about that too?
Um, when we were starting the company, I had challenges finding the right expertise and the right team. And the challenge was that we didn't have enough money to pay the best people that we wanted, to be honest. And so I had to look internationally to see where we could get the most out of our money, basically. So I was traveling a lot at the point because we found a team in Macedonia that we could work with. And so I was there pretty much every month for 1 to 2 weeks to work with them. So it was a challenging time, but it was the only way that we could do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite a scary thing to go through. A lot of people don't even have the blessing to go through that and like just figure all that stuff out. So, yeah, man, you just got to keep growing and keep going. I mean, that's a lot. What's just starting out as a student, right? Let's kind of bring it back to that point.
Yeah.
What are some like what are some pieces of advice that you would give students just starting out in their career?
Absolutely. I think it's important to focus on the skills, absolutely. But one thing that I also would like to acknowledge is the importance of the attitude. So the main thing I'm looking at right now when I'm hiring developers is the attitude, meaning how ambitious are they? How much effort are they going to put in? How coachable are they, etc. Because I think that skills can be taught, but the attitude is what makes someone really great. And ideally, they will have both. I hired a developer a while back when she was still in school because she had the right attitude. And she's still working with us today because she learned the things that she needed. She didn't have everything that we wanted back then, but she was open to learning and she was fun to work with. So it worked out anyway.
I'm gonna pause it here for 2 seconds.
Yep.
So in terms of, when people are first hiring engineers, right? What are some of the biggest things that you think companies look for? Or I mean, maybe yourself, right? Because what are some differentiators? A lot of people go in and it's just they don't really prepare themselves, right, to be different. So what are some of the like standout specific things you think people are looking for in engineers, early career people, students, interns, etc.?
Yeah, well, I would go back to the attitude then because that's the key thing that I'm trying to evaluate when I'm talking to someone for hiring them. So I'm looking for the signals that this will be a person that is open to learning, that will put in the extra miles if it's necessary sometimes, etc. So I think that they can differentiate themselves by really making sure that they bring the right attitude.
Okay. Yeah. So like in terms of attitude too, right? Because a big thing we teach at FormAWin, especially for all of our students watching, is the people engineering side of things. That whole networking and the attitude, they're all super important with growing and making yourself stand out. Because a lot of engineers are kind of introverted and they don't really put themselves out there. But in terms of business and all companies growing and making sure that we're networking and building a relationship and a culture is super important, right? So in terms of attitude, what are some maybe red flags? What are some things you've seen that students or engineers or interns might have had that they could have easily fixed or just thought about differently? What are your thoughts on?
I can really relate to the challenge, first of all, to network and to meet new people because it's a challenge that I also face. It's very easy to just get stuck behind the screens for days without actually meeting a real person. So I totally get that. And I think that it comes down to, first of all, just practicing exposure, which is what you're saying, that they put themselves in the situation where they get to practice their social skills over and over. So I think that's really important. And I think that it also comes down to practicing, for example, active listening, which is, for me, it sounds obvious, but it's something that has made a big difference for me, trying to, instead of just thinking about what I should say, listening to what the other person is saying and build and relate on that can make a very big difference.
I love it. I love it. These are great pieces of advice, everyone. Make sure you're taking notes. again, go apply this stuff. I mean, this is super important, and it's something that maybe you overthink or you don't want to go apply, and it's tough and it's hard, but this is the stuff that's going to make a difference. So, Gustav, I want to talk a little bit about your future, your goals, everything that's kind of coming up here. So what are you most excited about? What are some goals for the future here? Talk to us. And I know you already
Right.
talked a little bit about the company and where it's headed, but maybe expand a little bit.
Absolutely. Most of my life right now revolves around the company that I'm running. So the goals that we have is to help the Swedish construction company that we're working with to scale in Sweden and eventually in Scandinavia. And we're also working on launching a business solution that we will help other construction company with also, and that will have the starting point in Europe.
Okay. What are some of the next steps you're going to be taking? So with the real estate company, right? And in terms of maybe just engineering students' perspectives, like things that they should consider since you guys are expanding, what are some of the next steps that are involving people to kind of collaborate together? I'm just trying to look for something where students can kind of think about like, okay, so this is what it takes to get to the next steps. This is what the team is doing. So maybe if I think about myself in a company in the future, I can apply some of the same things.
Hmm. Well, that's an interesting question and a very tough one because I think that our situation is a bit unique in a lot of ways, where I'm working with mainly outsourcing situations, and the challenges that we're facing is mostly that we it's hard for me to give work to people without really a long-term onboarding because
Mhm.
we're at the point now where the system is very big. So you need to grasp the whole system in order for you to really be able to help out a lot. So it's a challenge for us because we would like to have more people helping on, but it also takes a lot of time to get to that point where someone can actually help out.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's a big thing with companies too. It just takes so long to get onboarded. So, I
Yeah.
mean, for students at least, in some situations, I think just for everyone watching, wherever you can add value is going to make it go a long way. Because again, it's like it is what it is in terms of taking a long time to get onboarded, caught up to speed, systems, processes, et cetera. Then you're finally able to do some stuff. Then that even takes a little bit longer to get acquainted to, right? So if there's just anything you can do to add value to the company, the people around you, that's going to go a long way in making things progress and develop your career. Um, I love it. Good stuff. The next question I got for you is going to be fitness, right? So students, everybody, everyone watching, fitness is super important, right? Fitness is just something that's key in life. And, just as engineering students, maybe we overlook it a little bit. Gustav, how important is fitness in your life?
Uh, I would say fitness is actually a productivity tool. So for me, it clears my head, it gives me more energy. And honestly, sometimes I've solved the most challenging problems that I've had after a gym session or a run session. So a 20 minutes run can be more productive sometimes than 4 hours just stuck behind the screen. And so many times I've disregarded fitness and health in my past to be able to work. So I've skipped sleep properly. I've skipped working out to be able to work instead. And every single time I just get in a general bad mood and I lose productivity. So disregarding health and fitness, it's not sustainable in the long run.
Agreed, 1,000%. So let's bring it back into engineering students, right? And then, just a quick point on that, everybody. Take that and apply it. That's like the key tip. Not a lot of engineering students focus on that. You might be studying and working all night, or even in your internship, you have your internship and classes and studying, going crazy, trying to figure all that stuff out. And I get it. But just like we said, fitness is super important. That's going to unlock something that not a lot of other engineering students have. So if you unlock that, you're going to be able to beat the competition a little bit easier. But bringing it to the next point here. So, in terms of engineering students, right? Sometimes they overlook a lot of things, when they're first developing their career or they're looking for internships or they're looking to network, right? What's something in your head that they may overlook early on that is pretty obvious, but like they overlook it, they overcomplicate it. What do you
So
think?
are we talking something that they would overlook in the tech industry or more in general?
More in general, like when they're first finding their first job.
Okay, well, I think it's important that they learn the fundamentals of whatever it is they're doing. So something I've noticed now is that a lot of people are using AI tools, especially in the tech industry. It's been a game changer. And it's very easy to use it without understanding the fundamentals, but that can get really dangerous. So I would try to use the tools as an amplifier of their knowledge instead of trying to replace it with your knowledge. So I would say definitely think about that.
I like it. I like it a lot. Everybody, make sure you're taking notes. Again, super important stuff here. So now, Gustav, in terms of, just starting out in people's careers, right? Let's just imagine they're in school or they're just looking to make ends meet, right? Or they're just looking to grow and find the next position. What's one extra tip? We've already talked about so much, and everybody, I know you got a lot of value out of this. Make sure you like, comment, and just share this with anyone else. But in terms of finding the next job, right? Let's just dig a little bit deeper on the same topic. What's one tip you would give someone past what we've been talking about here to find their next job? Maybe it's going out to a networking event or something like that. Just like what's one tip that you have for someone? I'm looking for a job. What would you say?
Yeah. My suggestion would be to start by offering value at a very low price or even for free. So, I mean, you could imagine someone calling you up and say that they would help you with your social media marketing, and they would do that for a week without any strings attached. And if you can deliver on your promise, usually the person that you're doing it to wants to keep you around. So I think that's how you earn trust. You prove the value first.
Yeah, I think that's it. And everybody watching, if you're kind of scared to call a company or go out and make that happen, that's just something that you need to kind of bite the bullet on. Something that we talked about earlier is just going out, getting the reps, getting the practice to talk to people, go out, network. And like with that is going to come this opportunity too. Because once you master communication, talking with people, going through all this stuff, and then you go and you try to add free value, that's when the key unlocks and everything kind of combines and you get to unlock that opportunity. So I love that. Now, let's completely switch topics now. We're kind of approaching the end here. This has been great. What are some hobbies outside of, work and fitness that you might have?
Yeah, so
All
besides
right.
working out, I actually like to dance bachata. So I found that to be one of the best ways for me to get out of my head after a long day of sitting behind the screens with logical problem solving. So that'd be it.
I love it. That's that's super cool. I'm not much of a dancer, but maybe I need to practice a little bit. What's one piece of advice? And this is our final question for today. What's one piece of advice that you would give yourself as just as your younger self, maybe coming up in the world?
Right. One piece of advice. Well, I would say start sooner. So with most things that I've done and am doing, I just wish I would have started with them sooner. A just very small example of that is that I had problems with my wrists at one point because I was using a regular keyboard. And then I purchased a way different keyboard that was much more ergonomic. It was very hard in the beginning to learn it. It took some time, but today I'm much more productive from it and I don't have any problems with my wrist. And you can apply this, I think, to a lot of things.
Very interesting. Yeah, you can definitely apply that to a lot of things, but more so than that, I'm the one that hated the ergonomic keyboard, so I might have to go get used to that. So, so that's a great tip for me too. All
All
right,
right.
everybody. Thank you so much for watching. This has been great. I'll make sure I link down Gustav's LinkedIn and everything down below. Make sure you go get connected with him. Feel free to reach out to him. But listen, guys, make sure you take notes, apply the stuff, go out, form a win. Thank you, Gustav. See you guys later.
All right. Thank you, my man.